Welcome back, Karptastic ladies and gentlemen, to another Meta Monday episode in this PTCGO series. Meta Monday is that day of the week where we take a look at a competitive deck from the past or the present in a Pokémon TCG online meta. And today we are going to take a look at a competitive Trevenant BREAK deck list. Trevenant BREAK has been doing fairly well in the recent 4 weeks of states in the United States of America. It took a couple of wins there, and it also got a lot of top 8 finishes. As always, if you want to skip the deck analysis, click the annotation on the top left of the screen or click the timestamps in the description, and those will take you straight to the battles. There's actually a couple of ways you could build a Trevenant BREAK list, a couple of variants that you could go for, but among those variants there is some consistency, some cards that constantly return, and those cards are the Bursting Balloon that you see here, the Wally, and either the red card or the Headringer, or a combination of both of them, as I have done here. And now, why is that? Let's start off with the Bursting Balloon maybe. If we take a look at the attacks from our Trevenants, we start off with the stage 1 with the first Curse item lock ability. Has a 3 slam attack which does 60 plus 20 more damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And then the BREAK Trevenant has the Silent Fear attack which puts 3 damage counters on all of our opponent's Pokemon that are in play. Now, that's not a whole lot of damage output that we can do. So by playing this Bursting Balloon onto our Trevenant in our turn where we expect our opponent to attack us, our opponent will have to accept 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon if he does decide to attack us. And those 6 damage counters will make it a whole lot easier for us to knock out his active Pokemon using the Silent Fear attack or the 3 slam from the stage 1 Trevenant. Then onto the Wally here. Wally, why is Wally a card that you will find in most competitive Trevenant lists? Well, the Wally is there for mainly one reason, and that is to pull off the turn 1 Trevenant item lock if you are going first. Because if you are going first, you cannot use the Ascension to evolve, or you cannot manually evolve yet. So by playing Wally, you can evolve into the Trevenant with the item lock on your first turn. If you're going second, it's not really necessary, since you can just use the Ascension attack. But even afterwards, even during the mid and late game, Wally can come in handy enormously to evolve from your Phantump into a Trevenant BREAK in one turn. So if you have a Phantump benched and it becomes your next turn, you can just manually evolve, play a Trevenant from your hand, evolve from your hand if you have it in hand, and then Wally into the BREAK, and just like that your Phantump became a Trevenant BREAK in one turn. All you need to do then is attach a Psychic Energy, which we do run 8 of 7 basic ones, 1 Mystery Energy, which gives us free retreat, I believe so, or no, which reduces our retreat cost to 1 energy. That's right, because the Trevenant has a 3 retreat cost. So all you have to do then is attach an energy and make sure a Dimension Valley is in play, which we do run 4 copies of to reduce our attack cost by a colorless energy, and you are ready to hit for a Silent Fear in just a single turn. And then finally, the red card or the Headringer or the combination of both of them. Why are those cards in the deck or in most Trevenant decks? If we take a look at the Headringer, it increases the attack cost of the Pokemon this card is attached to by colorless energy, and the Pokemon this card is attached to must be an EX Pokemon. You cannot attach it to any other Pokemon. And then the red card, your opponent shuffles his or her hand into his or her deck and draws 4 cards. So those are 2 very different cards, but they are in the deck for the very same reason, and that is to prevent Shaymin loop. Because if we are playing Trevenant, we cannot one-hit KO Shaymin, so what our opponent could do is just continuously Sky Return until he can set himself up. And to get out of that loop, we could play the Headringer onto the Shaymin, and that means the Shaymin needs more than just a DCE to attach, and that would break the Sky Return loop, because if our opponent would then play down the Shaymin, he would need more than just that DCE that he has in hand to be able to Sky Return. And same goes for the red card. If we play the red card while our opponent is using a Sky Return loop, then the Shaymin that he just used to Sky Return with the DCE will get shuffled back into his deck, and he will have to dig for that Shaymin and DCE once again in order to be able to continue that loop. So both of these cards are are in this deck to break that loop, or at least to attempt to break that loop. And that's basically almost it for the deck analysis, because the rest of the cards are fairly straightforward. There's 3 Sycamores for draw support, 1 Lysander for targeting our opponent bench Pokemon, like a Hoopa. Very nice if you could get a Hoopa in the active spot and then keep spreading damage counters with the breaks Silent Fear. 1 Judge to disrupt our opponent's hand will also come in handy to break the Shaymin loop. 4 VS Seekers for getting back our supporters. 4 Ultra Balls to get out our Shaymin, draw through our deck, and also get out, of course, our Trevenants. Then 4 Mail for consistency. And some disruption supporters, a Team Flag Grunt and a Zero Sick to disrupt our opponent's energy attachments a little bit, and potentially some tool cards as well with the Zero Sig. We have 1 Floatstone to retreat our damaged Trevenants if necessary, or to retreat a Pokemon that we don't want to start off with, like Shaymin. If we start off with Shaymin and want to retreat it, we can attach a Floatstone. We have 2 Super Rod to get back our Trevenant lines if they do get knocked out, and two Battle Compressors to potentially discard a Wally if we have a VS Seeker in hand, so that we can VS Seeker for the Wally in our first turn and evolve our Trevenant. And then finally, there is one more thing here that I have not discussed yet, and that is, and I'm going to go to the other overview to discuss it, that is the Dedenne that you see here. Why in God's name is the Dedenne in my deck list? Because I don't think I've ever seen another deck list run a Dedenne, another Trevenant break deck list. So I kind of just went with this because of 2 reasons. 1, it is lightning, it's a lightning type, and that means it is quite effective against darkness decks like Yveltal, because Yveltal is lightning weak, and we don't like darkness decks because we are darkness weak ourselves here. So if we are facing an Yveltal deck, we are going to have some trouble, and we could then promote this Dedenne, go for an energy short, and hit for hopefully a little bit of damage with this energy short against an Yveltal EX or something like that, if it has some energies attached to it. But another reason why I included the Dedenne in this deck is the entrainment. We can search out some Phantoms with it. But that's definitely not the main reason. That's just a nice convenience that this Dedenne has the entrainment. But the third, and maybe even the best or the funniest reason, I would say, is that now when we play this deck in the PTCGO and when we are facing an opponent, my opponent will see 3 energy types below our deck in the loading screen, and those energy types will be Psychic from our Psychic Pokemon, Lightning from our Dedenne, and Colorless from our Shaymin. And which other deck in the current format has those exact same lightning types and energy types? That's right, it's Night March. So by including this Dedenne, I have made our deck look like a Night March deck in the loading screen in the PTCGO, and that will help us to go first against Night March if we are facing another Night Marcher opponent, because I haven't really stressed that yet, but you always want to go first with Trevenant so that you can turn 1 item lock your opponent. And if we are facing Night March, it is even more important that we go first an item lock to stop Night March from exploding into our face. And if a Night Marcher in the loading screen sees our energy type and thinks we are a Night March deck, that Night Marcher will allow us to go first if he wins the coin flip. Because if it's Night March versus Night March in a mirror match, then the Night Marcher who wins the coin flip will want to go second, just so he can take the first knockout. And by including this Dedenne, we trick our opponent in letting us go first, basically, if it is a Night Marcher. And sometimes against other opponents as well, because if other opponents think we are Night March, they might let us go first just so they can get the first knockout as well. That has happened to me several times already in the versus ladder, and I hope it will happen to us again if we go into the tournament, which is right now. I'm going to go find ourselves a standard tournament and see if we can pull off a win with Trevenant Break. Leave a like if you enjoyed the deck analysis, if you enjoyed the upcoming tournament, and subscribe to my channel for more competitive, silly and fun deck ideas, and I'll see you in the battles. Alright, we are in the standard tournament, the 6-ticket standard tournament. Let's take a look at the rewards. Wow, 5 booster packs for first place and an uncommon chest. So I would love to get first in this tournament. Looks like we will need 4 more people though, and people are a little bit slow on joining, so I'll be right back when the tournament starts. The tournament has begun. The first round has started against Jojo Thomas 1990 with a fire deck, fire and colorless, possibly Anti-Charizard, possibly Flareon EX, or a variant of that, maybe Emboar even. You never know. Will our opponent allow us to go first? That's the question, because here is the example. Here is what I was referring to. We look like we are a Night March deck in the loading screen here, so I hope that if my opponent wins the coin flip, he will allow us to go first. We get to call the coin flip, we win the coin flip, doesn't matter. I will choose to go first myself here for sure. See if we can get a decent hand to start with. That was an okay hand. Unfortunately we did not get a Phantom. Finding our Phantom, that's going to be one of our biggest challenges at the start of the game, and we miss out again. Looks like it will be a day where finding a basic is gonna be hard. Seems to be the same for my opponent. My opponent might be playing Typhlosion. I wasn't really paying attention to the cards that he had there. And here is our Phantom. We start off with an okay hand, I would suppose. If our opponent puts down an EX, we will Headringer it straight away. We'll probably get rid of the energy and the break and then shuffle them back with the Super Rod. Depending on what my opponent does here. There's a Kangaskhan EX. This might be a Simisage Simipour deck then. I'm going to Headringer the Kangaskhan straight away. And I'm going to look for a Wally. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get rid of the energy and the break. I'm gonna get the Shaymin out and see if we can potentially draw into a Wally or a Battle Compressor. Either of the two is good. We'll Super Rod back the break and the energy, so we can draw into some more cards with our Shaymin. We'll even put down the Stadium for the same exact reason. We want to draw into that Wally. We want to draw as many cards as we can. We have 4 Wallies, we have 2 compressors, so we should be able to get something here. There is a Trainers Mail. Let's take a look at the Trainers Mail. Oh my goodness, the Trainers Mail fails. Are you kidding me? We might actually whiff the Wally here. That would be insane. Let's attach an energy to the Phantom while we can and draw into 3 more cards. I don't like benching that many Pokemon. They are easy Lysander targets for my opponent. And we get another... I'm gonna have to get rid of the Xerosic, the Lysander. Find my last Shaymin. If it is in the deck, it is indeed. We need to dig for that Wally. And I'll probably have to burn through the Bursting Balloon as well. Just to find that Wally, turn 1. We'll go with the Shaymin, draw into 4 more cards. Can we get a Trainer's Mail, a Wally, or a Battle Compressor? There's a Battle Compressor. We have found a Wally after all. We will Wally, discard the Wally, we will discard a Judge. And we will also discard a Sycamore. So we have some draw support available to us in our discard pile. I think that's a pretty good choice, and there it comes. There is the turn 1 Wally here. It is gonna happen. I was a little bit worried that we might whiff it. That would definitely give my opponent a good chance to get into the game, but right now we do prevent him from drawing into cards with the Kangaskhan unless he attaches a DCE. And we also prevent the Kindred Kick, because my opponent would need to attach 2 DCEs to pull that off. And that might not be so easy when he is under an item lock. This Bursting Balloon will go to waste. I do not expect our opponent to damage us in any way. But if we hadn't played it down, we might not have been able to draw that Battle Compressor. And my opponent decides to start powering up the Kangaskhan. We are going to hit for a Tree Slam. There's no need to get out the break per se this turn. Let's have a look here. What did we discard so far? Alright, I'm gonna get out another Phantom, I think. get another Phantom going, and then we're gonna go with the Sycamore, so that we have a backup Trevenant ready when my opponent knocks out the one in the active spot. And then we're going to go for the Sycamore. I believe that's a good option. We could actually try to find the Team Flag Grunt and keep discarding my opponent's energies until we have put sufficient damage on the Kangaskhan. And there is a Trevenant break. I might as well evolve the break. We'll keep the Trevenant in hand for the next turn. Not that we can discard it, but yeah, I don't know why I said that then. We'll hit for 60 with the Tree Slam. We'll have to take 3 turns here to knock out the Kangaskhan. I kind of wish I had discarded the Team Flag Grunts. I kind of wish I had discarded Team Flag Grunt now, so we could get rid of those energies. We'll evolve the Phantom there, and I think we will go for a Judge maybe. Yeah, I'm going to Judge my opponent. I think he might have drawn something from those 3 cards there. So I'm going to Judge. I'm not gonna bench another Phantom for now. And I kind of want to dig for energies, start powering up the Trevenant on the bench, and we do not get energies. We do get another VS Seeker, however. That's our last VS Seeker. Okay, we'll hit for a Tree Slam. Hopefully take the game in the next turn. Unless our opponent benches another Pokemon. And if he does that, oh no, he does not find it. The Judge probably disrupted my opponent pretty good there, so he couldn't find another basic. He probably didn't have any draw supporters in hand to find another basic. He knew he was done for and gave us the victory conceded. We had our luck going from the first turn, and I think that's what won us the game here. If we hadn't had that luck, if we hadn't had that turn Wally, I think my opponent might have been able to potentially find some other benched Pokemon. Let's take a look at the stats. Trevenant Break MVP. We only hit for 120 damage over the course of the entire game. So as you can tell, Trevenant Break doesn't output a whole lot of damage, but it does look our opponent pretty darn well. Let's take a look if the other players are nearly done with their matches. Oh, I got 100 coins from that match. That's pretty nice. It looks like we're still waiting for 024 and Daisy Ingle 123, so I'll be right back when those two have finished their match. 024 has come out on top and will be our opponent in the second round of the tournament with a Psychic and a Metal deck that we are facing. Psychic and Metal, maybe this is a Scissor deck. That could actually be a possibility if Metal is the attacking Pokemon or the attacking type in my opponent's deck. We'll have to see for ourselves after the game. Pardon me, after the game has loaded. And there it is. My opponent is calling the coin flip. If we lose, I do hope he allows us to go first. Oh, we won the coin flip. Never mind. We will just choose to go first. A lot of luck for us today with the coin flip. We can just choose to go first here. We have the Phantom ready to go. Unfortunately, no Wally in our hands, so we'll have to dig for it once again. It would be nice if we could start off with a Wally in hand and we get 3 stadiums. Are you kidding me? But my opponent plays Psychic Pokemon as well, so I don't actually mind discarding the stadiums. I'm kind of expecting to see my opponent play the same stadium. So what we will do is we will discard these 2 stadiums, dig for a Shaymin. How many Shaymin do we have? We have 2 more Shaymin. So that's pretty good. Fortunately, we cannot get rid of the Headringer. We'll Float Stone onto the Phantom. We'll put down the stadium and we'll dig through our deck. Try and find the Wally. We'll draw into 4 cards. Hopefully that is sufficient. And we do get a Trainers Mail. Fingers crossed here for the Trainers Mail. It's our only option. We get a Judge, so that is not what we wanted to see at all. We get a Judge here, definitely not what we wanted to see. I'm gonna attach an energy to the Phantom, and we will have to whiff the turn 1 Wally here. We don't have an option, and I'm gonna judge my opponent just because he has 6 cards. I want to bring him down to 2 cards. We get a Bursting Balloon, and oh my gosh, I'm gonna discard this VS Seeker and a Bursting Balloon, get out another Shaymin, draw into some more cards. I want to get at least a Wally for the next turn if I can, or a Trevenant and a Wally in hand so that we can manually evolve, and then Wally into the Trevenant break. Let's see, we'll put down the Shaymin, we'll draw into 5 more cards. The game is looking to be a little bit laggy today. There is another Phantom, might as well put it down. We have the Wally here, we have the Trevenant, with no Wally so far. Do I want to put down another Phantom though? Do I want to put that down? It's an easy target for the bats. I'm gonna keep it in hand. For now, we'll see what the next turn gives us. I cannot believe we haven't seen a single Wally just yet. It's turning out to be one of those days where Wally is gonna be hiding for us, and we need to find Wally. It's one of those days. Oh, a Night Marcher. What? I'm confused here. I'm making a lot of weird sounds here because of the confusion. What is this? I believe we are facing a very strange deck. Huh. Now this is something here. This is one for the books here, this deck that we are facing. Huh, indeed, very, very intriguing. We gave our opponent a lot of basics with our judge there. 2 at least, and then a level ball for another basic. Could go for a Golbat, but it cannot evolve just yet. Does go for a Golbat for the next turn, I suppose. The turn after our turn here, which is about to come up. We get hit for a skill dive. Where does he put the damage? That's the question. Puts it on the Phantom on the bench. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Alright, we do get a Trainers Mail. Can we get a Wally? Yes, we do. Alright, this is good. This is fantastic here. That we managed to get at Wally. That means we can get the turn 2 Trevenant break. Even though we whiffed the turn 1 item lock. And there is the break. And we can hit our opponent's bench Pokemon for 30 across the board. That's a knockout in the next turn. On most of his Pokemon. I will bench another Phantom, why not? And then I will go with a Shaymin. Maybe I can find another Trevenant. And just like that, we have a full bench going for us. We get another Phantom. Alright then. I don't think there's anything else we need to do, or we can do. So we will just hit for the Silent Fear. Putting a ton of pressure here on my opponent. Because in the next turn, all his benched Pokemon will go down, except for the Zubat, which I am expecting to see evolve into a Golbat. And there is a Doublade, so never mind, the Doublade will stay alive as well. Where does he put the damage? Puts it on the Trevenant break. He could have put it on the Phantom and then hit for a Supercross, which would knock out the Phantom in the not in the turn that he would use the Supercross, but in the turn after that. If he could go for another Supercross, which is likely because we won't be knocking out the Golbat in our turn, it will stay alive with 10 hit points, just like the Doublade. No, the Doublade stays alive with 20 hit points. My opponent's going to opt to power up the Doublade. We might see the Aegislash very soon. I'm probably gonna zero sick the Doublade on the bench. I think that's our best bet. Get rid of that DCE there. I will just hit for another Silent Fear, taking the first prize of the game and keeping that pressure on my opponent. There we get an energy, excellent. I'm thinking I might go for a tree slam in the next turn if my opponent evolves into a Crobat. We see the Phantom here with 10 damage on it, so if my opponent evolves into a Crobat, he could put 30 on the Phantom, then go for a Supercross with the Golbat, which would knock out the Phantom on our bench. Goes for a Gengar and a Wobbuffet. I think I discarded my Headringer. I did not, so we do have a Headringer available to us. We could find one, put it onto the Gengar EX. The Wobbuffet is my opponent's best bet at knocking out our Trevenant BREAK, I think. If he can put some more damage counters on the Trevenant BREAK, then the Wobbuffet could come in with just a single energy and potentially a one-hit KO it. It seems to opt to keep the Wobbuffet in hand though. Yeah, he just puts down the Gengar, goes for another Supercross. It's time for this Golbat to die. I don't like these Supercrosses. Let's take a look at the Trainers Mail. We get a Bursting Balloon. Do I want to use that Bursting Balloon? Not really. I don't really have any use for it right now. So we'll leave it in a deck. We will go for... I wish we had a Lysander. I would love to Lysander around that Gengar there. Put a Tree Slam onto the Gengar and at the same time knock out the Doublade and the Golbats, but we cannot do that. We don't have a Lysander available to us. I'm gonna red card my opponent. Then I'm gonna attach an energy to the Trevenant on the bench and Sycamore my hand away. Draw through my deck a little bit more. See what we can find. We can find an Ultra Ball and a Bursting Balloon. So we could go for a Trevenant BREAK in the next turn. For now, I think we shall just hit for the Silent Fear. We'll need to go for the Tree Slam at some point here to deal with that Gengar. My gosh, we have 3 energies in hand. That's a lot of energy. 4 energies. How many energies were prized? I think we got all energies from the prizes so far. Like 3 energies from the prizes, if I'm not mistaken. I might actually retreat into the Trevenant on the bench in the next turn and then attach a Bursting Balloon to it. Just so if the Gengar decides to attack our Trevenant BREAK, then he will have to accept 6 damage counters on the Gengar itself. And he's going for the knockout on the Phantom. I guess that's indeed a good choice for my opponent. We will most likely go for an... Oh, there is the Lysander. A little bit too late. We'll go for a... We'll discard the Dedenne. There's no use for the Dedenne right now. And 1 energy. I think we have enough energy available to us. I will go for the BREAK. And I think both of our Super Rods are in the discard pile. No, only 1. So we could get back the Phantoms if we want to. Or if we need to. We'll evolve in the BREAK. We will retreat into the other BREAK. So my opponent is probably going to go for a Night attack on the BREAK on the bench, but at least we prevent a Dark Corridor to our Trevenant BREAK in the active spots by attaching this Bursting Balloon if that scares our opponent off. And we'll also take a look at the Trainers Mail, maybe find a Team Flagrant. We do not find a Team Flagrant, but we can get a Super Rod. I will use the Super Rod to get back the Phantoms and some energies. There is an energy and there is the Phantom. 2 Phantoms and an energy. That's pretty good. Now we will hit for the Tree Slam. There's no point going for the Silent Fear right now. Why do 30 when you can go for 60? And my opponent doesn't have any benched Pokemon, so this should take us just 2 more turns to get the knockout. That should be it for us then. That should be game. would be very surprised if my opponent could come back from this. And another night attack. Hitting for 30 on the Trevenant on the bench indeed. He doesn't seem to have any energies in hand. So, alright, we get a team flag grunt. I am very happy with that. I was kind of looking for that. And we will hit for a... Should we hit for a tree slam once again? I think we will hit for the tree slam once again. Make sure the Gengar will go down in the next turn. And all my opponent will have left is a Pumpkaboo, which hits for 20 damage. So, alright, if he can find a DCE, which is not very likely. Seeing as though he doesn't seem to have any energy in hand right now. He's only used one DCE though. So maybe he can get lucky and get that DCE from the top deck. He still has 35 cards in deck. We have only half as many cards left. 17 cards. Will we maybe see a concede? I kind of get a feeling that we might. Because, oh, there he goes. Goes for a night attack. On to probably the Trevenant break on the bench once again. Yep. Goes for the Trevenant break on the bench again. At least we didn't see a dark corridor. I will actually take the game here. I'm gonna license out the Pumpkaboo, hit for a tree slam and knock out the Gengar at the same time. We've had enough of this shenanigans here from my opponents. Look at that, what a finisher. Nothing my opponent could do really. Feel kind of bad for my opponent as well. He seems to have a little bit trouble putting a consistent deck together, because I'm not quite sure what the Night Marchers were doing there. We only saw 2 of them, so maybe he's just starting off and is using all of the cards that he has. I hope he manages to find some more cards then, so he can get a tournament win of his own at some point, because we are definitely aiming for the tournament win right now. We are in the finals. And oh, was that? Oh, that's from another tournament that I started. I kind of lost that tournament big time there. I went out first round in that tournament since my first opening hand was so bad. I got KO'd by a Tropius turn 2. So that happens sometimes. It was a waste of 6 tickets. It looks like we'll have to wait for Massimiliano, Massi something against Matt Hunter. The finals have begun and we are gonna be facing Matt Hunter with a fighting and a colorless deck. I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a Garchomp deck. Garchomp with Shaymin, possibly then. Although you usually also see it with Octillery, but my opponent does not play any water types, so we won't be seeing any Octilleries. Maybe it's just a Lucario deck. I think we'll be seeing a lot more of fighting decks as soon as the next set comes out. With Zygarde and Carbink and all those new fighting Pokemon and the new fighting support. We won the coin flip once again. There's 3 in a row, 3 first turns in a row. But 3 whiffs of the Wally in a row as well, or at least in our opening hand. It looks like we'll have to whiff the Wally just like in the previous game for our first turn, because we don't really have a good hand here. It's full of supporters, and nope, we'll have to judge my opponent down to 4 cards. And there is another Phantump. My gosh. Let's see. Can my opponent hit us for something? He cannot in his first turn. We'll take a look at Trainers Mail. There's a Wally or a Dimension Valley. Huh. That's an interesting choice there. I'm gonna go for the Dimension Valley most likely. That's not a very good hand that we got there. Yeah, I'm gonna go for the Dimension Valley. Yeah, we are stuck with no hand here. We will have to hope for a top deck. We'll end our turn. This might actually be quite a quick loss here if we cannot get going in the next turn. I cannot believe we are whiffing the turn 1 Wally again. That's not a good showcase. And my opponent has a pretty terrible hand from that judge, it seems. So I'm going to keep these cards in hand for now. Do I want to play another Phantom? Well, it doesn't really matter if we play another Phantom at this point. He can just Lysander out any of the two. So we will Ascension, and in the next turn we will put the break down, we will put the stadium down, and hopefully start hitting away at those Gibbles there. My opponent cannot rare candy anymore. That option is gone from my opponent. So we should be fairly safe for now. I don't think we'll see a Garchomp just yet. There's a Sycamore. My opponent must have top decked that Sycamore. Discards a Garchomp and a VS Seeker. I kind of like to see that. Kind of glad that he had to discard a VS Seeker and a Garchomp. And that's one less Lysander. We could potentially see a VS Seeker for a Lysander, or one less Garchomp. And attaches a fighting energy to the Gibble, passes the turn. So this might be a very quick game. We might be able to win this right here, right now, in the next 2 turns. If we cannot find the Gabite, we will... Do I want to attach this Bursting Balloon? Not really just yet. I am not too scared. I'm gonna use the Silent Fear. And a good thing for Trevenant going for a good thing that Trevenant has going for him is the fighting resistance. So the Garchomp will need to take at the very least 2 turns to knock us out if he has a strong energy attached. If he doesn't have a strong energy attached, he will need to take 3 turns to knock us out, because then he's only hitting for 60 with the what is it, the bite off. My opponent says lol. I think he's stuck. I think we have the win here, and that's the power of the item lock. So yeah, the judge screwed him over. Feel kind of bad for my opponent. And there is the Lysander. So I was afraid to see that Lysander. We'll probably have to dig for a Shaymin in the next turn. Shaymin and find a Floatstone or something like that. It's definitely not game over just yet. There comes a Gabite into play as well. And another fighting energy. That's 2 strong energy. That's definitely gonna be a 2-hit knockout on our Trevenant. We get a Battle Compressor. I'm gonna Battle Compress, and then I'm gonna go for Shaymin. I'm gonna discard Bursting Balloon. So I will Battle Compress a Wally. I will Battle Compress Team Flag Grunts. There's no need to see the Team Flag Grunt right now, and as well as this Headringer. We have no use for the Headringer, I think. Gonna keep the Zero Sick in deck. You never know when it can come in handy to discard those strong energies. We will Ultra Ball, get out a Shaymin, which is an easy Lysander target for my opponent. Can get him an easy knockout, but I really wanna get that Silent Fear going again this turn. We need to find either the Mystery Energy or a Floatstone, and I think that's our only option really. We get a Trevenant. We actually don't need to find them anymore. We can just evolve the Trevenants, then evolve into the break with the Wally here. That's what I was talking about in a deck analysis. That's why Wally is so great. And we can just hit for the Silent Fear with the new Trevenant break. Look at that. Amazing stuff. And that will give us 2 knockouts. Yeah, there we go. The Gibbles get knocked out. And 2 more Pokemon are very near to getting knocked out in the next turn. Unless my opponent can find that Garchomp. Get another Wally. I might actually opt to Wally the other Phantom on my bench in the next turn. Just so when he gets Lysander out, my opponent doesn't get a turn with item cards. That's why you always have to think carefully if you want to bench another Pokemon with this deck. because it can be a licensor target and it can allow your opponent to get a turn of item cards if he licensors out either, for example, the Shaymin here or the Phantump on our bench, like he did in the last turn. And it looks like we will knock out the Gabite. He says GG. Yeah, it's definitely GG. I'm gonna Wally just to be safe here, and I'll say GG. Now we'll go for the Silent Fear. We don't want to waste our opponent's time, so we'll just go for the knockout there. And get another VS Seeker. So 2 VS Seekers were prized. That could actually be troublesome if this wouldn't have been Garchomp, but for example Yveltal. And there it is. There is the victory against Garchomp in the standard tournament. Pretty easy win here in this tournament. We get 25 coins from the tournament wheel. Besides our tournament prize, I am very eager to see what we are gonna get here from the tournament prize. We know there's gonna be 3 breakpoint packs. And what's this now? That's from the previous tournament, right? That's the tournament I talked about. I don't think that's right. Did it give me a different prize? Did it give me the prize from the previous tournament twice? I don't know what happened there. I didn't get my packs, I think. Let's take a look at my collection. Did we get anything here? No, I think it oh my gosh, it skipped. It gave me the prize from the previous tournament that I entered. The one that I lost in the first round because of a bad hand. Oh my gosh, that's silly. That sucks. What an anticlimax there. 6 tickets gone to waste here due to a PTCGO bug. Well, on that note, we'll have to end the episode here, because apparently I'll need to put in a support ticket, see if I can get the correct prize for this tournament. I hope you enjoyed today's Meta Monday episode with Trevenant Break. I hope you have fun with the deck yourself if you are going to build it. Leave a like if you did enjoy the episode and subscribe to my channel for more competitive, silly and fun deck ideas. I hope you have a truly Karptastic day, and I will see you next time.
Karp, 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 Karp.